the big debate while we're waiting for a few more people to chime in that we're going to have some fun with today is this extremely complex problem of planning, research, and data. You know, there are many strategies to try to conquer the web, to win the war of words on the web, I like saying. Without a doubt, you need a plan, and you need to understand how to capture market share, and you need data. You need to crunch the data. You need to see the data, and you need to formulate the plans. Today, we're going to have an interesting exercise of walking through the complexity of that process and walking some people through today on how we here at idealaunch and Content 6, this new kind of agency that we launched a while ago, which is really nothing more than a service brand name for work that we do with clients already, but how we literally will spend as much as 150 hours planning what to write about, how much content we need to create to capture market share, how frequently we need to publish it, and how good does it need to be in terms of the quality of the article or content we're creating. And that is just an exhaustive exercise. And Mike is here today to shed some light on a new approach that doesn't perhaps take the full 150 hours. Maybe it takes 5 minutes and a deposit. And we're going to take a look at what data we can get, what crunching data we can get with some really new innovative technology that Mike's come up with. But what we're also going to do is to try to make people really understand how complex this process is. Mike, would you add anything to that while we're waiting a few more minutes, and then we'll start away?
Well, you know, absolutely. The stuff that I'm going to show is basically cutting into this really, you know, kind of painful, I call it the $10,000 pill that you have to get a customer to swallow before you can, you know, really engage them on SEO at all. And that stands apart from any, you know, digital discipline or advertising in general. You can kind of say, well, you know, let's get the ball rolling. Let's bring you on as a customer, and we'll, you know, create some value in the first couple months. And then, you know, once we get to know each other, then we'll spend some time sitting down and doing some strategy. With SEO or content planning, you really have to do all that stuff up front. There's really, you can't start doing anything until you have a baseline, until you know which articles to write, and how do you do that without doing upfront research? Now, you can maybe get away with a reduced set of research. You may not have to do 150 hours. You may be able to get away with 20 hours, but in any case, what we're building is reports that do, I don't know, half of that work for you. It really streamlines it so that you should be able to go from bringing on a client to execution with really minimal ramp-up time.
We can't wait to see it. I'm going to blast through my deck really quickly. Couple of, and then we're going to go right at some of these incredible new reports that Mike's going to show us how they're working and what they're offering and what value proposition they're bringing to the table. Couple of house rules. Number one, please ask questions. We'd love to hear what your questions are. After Mike and I are finished with our presentations, we're going to circle back to the Q&A section, and we're going to go right to the questions that you enter. So we'll look forward to fielding some questions. Number two, definitely get a hold of us if we can answer any questions with a chat as well. While I'm talking, I can't really chat with people, but feel free to reach out if you have specific questions for Mike or myself, and we'll try to get to all the questions and all the communication, and we'll look forward to it. So, without further,
you can also, by the way, hit us up on Twitter, at SpyFu or at MRSpy. Actually, we're only monitoring at SpyFu right now since Mr. Spy is me. So, sorry.
Got it. No, perfect. So without further ado, I'm going to spin you through what I believe is a quick summary of the fairly complex process that's involved with content planning and how we do it here at idealaunch. So the first difficulty that we have is actually learning what to write about. The first literally the first step we need to take is to evaluate the current organic market share. So we'll enter a couple of competitors into a tool set, and by the way, the Spy Food tool set is fantastic for this, where we basically want to see what's the current organic market share. So I compared idealaunch to marketing profs for a particular batch of a couple thousand keywords that I had selected, and then I also compared idealaunch to Junta 42, a couple of competitors to ours. And within minutes, I can sort of understand whether I'm winning or losing the battle, and how difficult it may be for me to capture market share for particular groups of keywords. So before we even could imagine how much content we need to create for a particular domain name, we have to look at the competitive universe. The other thing we need to look at is the marketing tactics, the content marketing tactics and strategy that clients that competitors are launching. And here I pulled up an actual report from that we manually put together, an exhaustive exercise where we look at 5 competitors. We have to look at things like, are those competitors developing top 10 lists, and do they have evergreen content? Do they have news articles, blog posts, tip and advice centers, photo galleries, forums, checklists, any tools or widgets? We need to have an apples-to-apples comparison for what assets we're bringing to the table versus a competitor, and likewise, we can look at particular tactics. So next, we look at the whole content curation process. This is also exhausting. We need to go in and look at a page-by-page level and an article-by-article level of how much content is on the client's current website that we're working on. And we have to begin to develop new categories for the new content we're creating, and then work with existing categories for content and literally come up with an information architecture plan and a content plan based upon what already exists on the client's website. And I'd also note that with regards to content curation, one of the biggest breakthroughs we've begun to experiment with is a very simple curation process for news and articles and information happening on the web, and kind of rolling that up on an individual domain name with multiple RSS feeds feeding into it, so our writers and our editors and even our SEO specialists can start seeing what's happening out there with regards to content on the web in general related to a particular topic. One of the most difficult things to do when you're creating content, and this is really true guessing games at this point, and that is trying to understand what the wants and needs of your customers are and readers on your website. And advertising agencies have historically done a pretty good job of bringing focus groups together and getting a sample and an audience together and trying to learn more about what motivates them and what their wants and needs are related to a particular product or service. But talking with your clients is critical for us, or at least looking in the search box on your website to see what people are searching for and whether they're finding what they're looking for. Monitoring the social media conversations, looking at web analytics, certainly keyword popularity, but this step 4 is probably the most difficult part of the content planning process and content creation process. How do you learn this information? And that's really critical.